Hello, welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women Extra, where we focus on all aspects of real estate investing, including strategies, mindset, emotional mastery, money smarts, and so much more. I'm Monica Sawyer, and on this show, we dive deep into the topics that will skyrocket your success. If you'd like to learn my favorite strategy on creating wealth in real estate, just download my free report at blissfulinvestor.com. Now, let's welcome our guest. Hello there, ladies. Last week on Thursday, I released a Bliss episode called Staying Blissful While Working at Home, and it was with Devi Adea. And after that, of course, we recorded extra like we always do. And at the end of extra, she said, hey, is there somewhere we can post this so that all of us can share ideas? Now, you know that Devi is all about community, which is one of the things that I love about her. And so, of course, I was excited about that. So I wanted to actually release her episode of extra so everybody could see it and hear it. And that way we can all sort of communicate and share ideas on how we can all stay blissful at home while we're working, because I know you guys have lots of ideas also. So in order to join the conversation, go to Blissful Real Estate Investor with Monica Sawyer on Facebook. That's the name of the group. So the group is Blissful Real Estate Investor with Monica Sawyer. I will have this episode video loaded up there so you'll know where to post your ideas, but you can listen to this episode also and get a lot of ideas for yourself. And then obviously if you're inspired, come join us in the Facebook group. I also wanted to just let you know this is kind of what extra is like. So if you haven't checked out other episodes, definitely do that. They're really good content. So, and you can, if you want to subscribe to extra specifically, of course, you can go to realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. Again, that's realestateinvestingforwomenextra.com. And again, after this, listening to this episode, please come join me in the Facebook group. It is Blissful Real Estate Investor with Monica Sawyer. I'm looking forward to meeting you there and enjoy this show. Okay, Debbie, we are in extra. Hey. So what I really want to talk about here is something you brought up in the first part of the show, which is really about anchoring. And it really reminded me that this is something I haven't talked about much, a little bit. We have had one other guest that talked a little bit about it, but how to anchor bliss in our home. So ladies, let me tell you a little bit about what I mean by anchoring. I'll give you a couple of examples. So have you ever been in the car and you hear a song start to play and you're suddenly transported back to high school when you broke up with your first boyfriend? Right? Or you're suddenly transformed to the dance floor of high school prom. Right? Or you're suddenly transported to walking across that stage and getting your diploma, right? Or seeing, music is so impactful and it's an amazing anchor for so many of us, right? Which is why it's really important to listen to uplifting music because it's anchoring you. The words, the music will create a mood and then that will anchor you, right? So that's an example of an anchor. Another anchor that can happen is in your home, and maybe some of you are experiencing this. Maybe there is a place in the house where you always yell at the kids, or you always get frustrated with the kids, or you're always having a fight with your husband in that spot, right? And it's interesting, right? Because you might say, we're not going to have this conversation in front of the kids. We're going to go over to that place. And you always go to that place. And suddenly you find out that one day you walk past that place and then you get in a really, really bad mood. Why? Because that space is anchored for bad conversations and ugly feelings, right? So it's important that we create anchors in our home that support how we want to be. So for instance, one of the things that I was taught really early on is never have a fight in bed. Not because of like the old thing, don't go to bed mad, right? If you're mad, whatever. But you don't want to have a fight in your bed because it will anchor that eventually, and you will pretty soon, and this has actually happened to me, which is why I kind of figured it out. I couldn't sleep well and I would wake up angry. which is not how I want to wake up, right? So I had anchored upset in the bed. And a lot of that just had to do because I had gone through this pregnancy journey for 4 years. I had been pregnant 14 times. There was a lot of tears in the miscarriages. And because I was on hormones, my husband and I were having trouble getting along, right? We had a lot of marital negotiations in bed while I was like pregnant, right? So there were a lot of really sad memories attached to our bed, which we had bought for the new baby. We bought this beautiful new king size bed, right? So there was a lot going on. So I had to clear that. And now the only thing we do is have loving conversations. We cuddle with the dog. We've made that a really safe space of love for us so that I can sleep well and I wake up in a blissful state. So that's an example of a personal anchor. Now, in my office, there are also anchors, and Devi and I are going to talk a little bit more about that, but that's kind of what anchoring looks like. Now, so much of anchoring happens very naturally, right? Like you're always going to go have a fight in that spot, or I'm crying because of another miscarriage in bed, and it happened 14 times, and I went through that pain for 4 years, right? That all happened organically, right? But I had to set the intention to shift that and do it consciously. So you can set anchors unconsciously, or you can set anchors consciously. And that's the conversation that I want to have today, because you do have anchors in your home that are either serving you or not serving you, that have been put there probably unconsciously. So if you want to shift them, we can do it. Or if you want to set new anchors, let's figure out how to do that, right? So Debbie, I know that you were a coach with Tony Robbins' group, and I know it's been a long time. Could you give, yeah. But I think it's really valuable, because I think that when we're teaching it as coaches, we teach it as like this process, right? It really is a very natural, organic thing. So let's talk about it a little bit more like that.
Sure. So, and here's the thing. So Anthony Robbins' companies, at least when I was with them back in 2000, which has been a while, they taught neuroassociative conditioning, which is a little bit different than NLP, but very similar. And then I actually did study a little bit with Richard Bandler, who created NLP in Chicago. I went to one of his events and learned some stuff. So again, it's been a while. But what I will say is everything Monica is saying is absolutely true about anchors. And if you think about it, an anchor is created when you do something with high emotion, with repetition, and then you anchor it to something. Like it could be, I was telling her when we used to do fire walking at Tony's events, you'd walk across and you would, first of all, you'd be looking down, because when you, looking up, because when you look up, you're not kinesthetic, you're actually more visual, right? So you're not actually in the feeling state, you're up. And then you would be affirming cool mas, cool mas, cool, the whole way across. So you're taking yourself out of the feeling place and then shifting your mind to think that it's actually cool, not hot, the fire. But when you get to the other side, if you've done this, you know what I'm talking about. They would have you anchor and like pick a spot on your ear, for example, just to squeeze over and over, and doing the repetition of the squeezing in that heightened emotional state. Then later you could go and literally squeeze your ear, and you would feel that same feeling that you felt after you got off of the hot coals when you had that success, right? So, same thing is true. Like you may be seeing your spouse's face and you're happy, and then every time you see their face, you're happy. Or you may be seeing their face and you're not happy, and then every time you see their face later, you're not happy when you see their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You bring me down, like this person that used to make you so happy. Now every time you see him, you're like, you know what? Every time you come home, you bring me down.
Yeah.
Like, no, it was just, it happened a few times, and now you've anchored that.
Yeah, like you have an argument, see their face, have an argument, see their face, have an argument, see their face, then you see their face and you want to have an argument. So these things can get connected, right?
Right.
And actually I was also sharing, we did so I have this rock. This would be like a visual anchor in your space, right? So every time I see this rock, it actually puts a great feeling for me from back in the Tony Robbins days, because my dear friend and I did the coaches training together, but we also did life mastery together. And so we spent a week in Hawaii together doing things. And one of the exercises we did was the pamper pole, where you would climb up the pamper pole and you jump into this ring and the ocean's there. And it's just amazing, like the beauty, and it's terrifying when you get up there. But when you get to the top, you're like, oh my God, right? Well, on the way up, I had them I was singing, I believe I can fly, right? I believe I can touch the sky. And so they all started singing the song to me, right? So she wrote on the rock, I believe that you can touch the sky. May all your dreams come true. Love your soul sister, Holly. And so every time I see this, I think, you rock. And I believe that all your dreams can come true. Like,
Mhm.
right? So I believe I can fly. So that's just a visual anchor. Every time I see it, it evokes a certain feeling for me, like however many 20 years later, right? I
Mhm.
still see this and it gives me that feeling. And literally it's like a touchstone. Like I can touch it and be like, okay, it's going to be good.
Mhm.
Um, because of the strong emotion and how that was created. So the microphone for me is another anchor. When I come in and I click on the microphone, I'm like, oh, okay, here we go.
I'm on.
I'm on. Like
Mhm. I
it's
do the same thing.
and it's like this motion. I pull the boom arm out. And I know, like I'm good. Or I click the little diva ring light that's over there. Like I click the lighting thing and I'm like, okay, illuminated. Here we go. Um, and for me, one of the things too that really helps is scent. So like I will use a certain meditation incense in my meditation that brings peace. If I bring that into my office and I use that in my office, it actually will instantly shift my mood to the same peace that I have in meditation. So you can, one of the easy ways to actually set up the anchors is to put like do something that brings you a lot of joy or a particular feeling you want to have, like confidence, joy, um, uh, wisdom. Like what would you give me? A bliss. We were talking about
Bliss.
bliss.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
And then
Excitement,
excitement.
motivation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then literally like pick something that you want to anchor that to. And just when you're having that experience, bring that in. So, like incense for meditation, I move that incense somewhere else. Maybe there's something that happens that's great when you're doing like um, you know, a podcast or something, you know, and just like really anchor in. Okay, when I get on my microphone, that's what happens. Like start to connect the things together. Physically, it's really easy because your body will automatically do the wiring. Visually, you need to give the meaning to the object. Like you're going to
Mm-hmm.
need to be like setting that up for yourself. But also repetition, again, heightened state. I get on here all the time podcasting. I've got 224, 25 episodes, something like that now on this one show. My microphone is now an anchor 100%
Mm-hmm.
because I've been doing it
Mm-hmm.
over and over and I've had joy doing the show. So now if I need to put myself in a place of productivity to have a conversation, I just need to pull my microphone out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Some
so
other thing, oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say some other things that really help to set anchors are a ritual. So you're talking about you just pull your boom arm, but for me, I have a whole ritual around it. So I come over, turn on the machine. I always come over and turn on my machine about 10 minutes early because if it decides to reboot, I don't want it to do it when I'm supposed to be doing the show. And it's happened.
Yeah.
So I walk into the room and sort of like, I kind of, it's an interesting thing because I sort of, shift to it's 10 minutes to the show. So I start that process of Monica becomes show host. I go from, and you know, guys, we're the same person everywhere, but we show up differently in different circumstances, right? So Monica from Monica frazzled, running around trying to get her makeup on,
Yes.
to Monica, the show host, right? Who's going to have this really amazing conversation. So it starts 10 minutes before I start. I make sure that the computer boots up. I go finish my makeup, whatever. And then when I come over to actually start the show a couple minutes before I log on, I turn on my lights. I put my earbuds in. I turn on the mic and I get Zoom ready. And then I pull the boom arm towards me for my mic, right? And then I'm like, hey, to whoever is sitting there on Zoom with me, right? So there's a process, which is now the ritual. I do it all in the same order, right? Because it started because it was the most efficient way to do it all, and because then everything was handled, right? But now it's the ritual. And so I move from whoever I was being, whether I was irritated with the dog for vomiting. David
Mm.
was a little bit late, so I didn't get to give him a kiss goodbye because I'm going into the showroom. I got a bad email, or I'm uber elated and I can't ground, right? Like I got an amazing email and now I can't ground, right? Because it was so exciting, right? Whatever it is, it's happening. I go from that person to show host Monica, right? And show host Monica loves what she's doing, right? So when I sit down, I'm a particular person and I'm in love with what I'm doing. But that whole thing happened organically because of this ritual that I created to best serve myself to be the most efficient, right? So it kind of happened in a circular way, but it's that same thing. Now I've got this anchor. So let's say, for instance, I am going to have a conversation that, like a negotiation. I often want it in this same space because I feel protected, safe, whole. I feel like I can be my most authentic self. I feel like my voice is heard and appreciated, and that I am interested in appreciating what the other person has to say. So it opens up that conversation. Now, maybe the conversation is difficult. It's not going to change that anchor because the anchor is so well set by all the other things that I'm doing here, right? So you can set up anchors simply by creating a ritual that serves you, that then creates ease in your life. And then as you're doing that and you're reinforcing it, suddenly that ease is now what you feel whenever you step into that situation, right?
Absolutely. And I think too, the stacking of events too, like you're saying, like I come in, I sit down, I turn them on, like those stacking of things, um, in the middle of something that is so common, like if you're doing like, okay, I pull my microphone out, the next thing that I do is go, hello, like you have
Right.
your, it's a stacking of something you do naturally. Once you get those anchors set up and you have that ritual, then you can add on whatever you want to also solidify next. So like, for example, if I want to go, work out, I could say every time I put the boom arm back, I get up, I go put on my shoes, and I go outside and exercise. Because this boom arm moving back and forth is such a habit for me now. I can stack on another, and like that can become a trigger for the next thing of what I'm going to do, um, whatever that is. And that could be habits that you want to create in your office too, right? That
Mm-hmm.
become new rituals in and of themselves, and then you can build onto those, as well. And I would invite you right now to create some new ones for you. Like whatever this new thing is that's evolving, like start to look at like what new ways you could utilize some of the existing anchors that you have to bring in new consciousness, new things into your life experience at home in your office. And also as you're building out a home office, if you haven't had one before,
Yes.
really like you can tap in some of those better habits to new things that you're creating that are habits. Maybe picking up the phone is an anchor for you. Like every time I pick up the phone, I say this to myself or whatever it is, right? Once you hang up the phone, maybe the next thing you want to do, you can anchor in to that and stack it as a
Mm-hmm.
trigger.
Mm-hmm.
The rituals are huge. Like I asked Monica today, can we pray in the episode? Because I love to pray in every episode I do before I go on. And she was very open to that. She has her own rituals for that. And it's just beautiful. It totally shifted the energy of where we were before to where we were after just by that short little ritual. Right.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, oh, hi, we've arrived.
We landed.
We landed. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So,
So let's actually give you a tool on how to create an anchor. So let's say, which we say, what do we want to help our ladies to do? Let's say to create calm when they sit down in their chair. How about
gotcha.
something like that?
Is calm good for? Yeah, I guess calm's good.
Is calm good?
Calm's good for me. So, how I do calm as a ritual is I have a smell that actually, the lavender is very calming to me. So, literally, I have a candle right here on my desk. And when I'm feeling like I need a little more calm, because again, scents work for me. It's a smell that does it. I have a lighter fully prepared. I just light that little puppy up and just seeing the light in that, which I've done in meditation many times, and
Mm-hmm.
smelling the lavender from having been massaged with lavender, I guess, in the past. Maybe that's why it's healing for me
Mm-hmm.
and calming for me. Just that little thing, that one little ritual totally shifts how I feel. I feel very calm and peaceful. I can literally take an inhale and exhale through my mouth. You can try it with us. Do this. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Hold it for a sec. Exhale out your mouth. Totally changes how I feel. I don't even need a candle for it. But having like even the candle sitting on my table, having done it and lit it to bring calm and peace, then every time I see it, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I'm resourceful. I'm going to light that. Or, it's just a good reminder. It's a visual reminder. Um, Another thing that I like to do is bells, like meditation bells. I've anchored those from doing meditation with bells in the past. I have crystal bowls and bells in the other room. Sometimes
Uh,
I'll just ding a bell, and it's like it changes the whole way that I feel. Right?
mhm,
I can look at natural beauty if I want to create calm. Right?
mhm,
Literally, like vision a sunset, and all of a sudden it shifts my soul. Like I'm totally calm and peaceful. So there's different things that you can do depending upon what works best for you. Some people tend to be more visual. Some people tend to be more auditory. Some people tend to be more kinesthetic, gustatory, olfactory, like whatever works for you. Pick the one that resonates, taste, smell, touch, sound, or looking at something. And you can combine the two and pick something that really will help you to shift your state and then create that as an anchor in your space. And you can pull from other rituals that you have in other areas of your life into your office, like I've been doing with the meditation pieces and things, to shift the energy and the feeling that you have in your office when you sit down to work. Do you have a different practice or is something similar, Monica?
something very, very similar. So when I sit in my chair, because I want my chair to feel supportive of me, which means that I feel, for me, being supported means that I'm calm and I feel powerful, right? Like I'm in my power. And so I translated that as calm, but really it's really being in my power, being supported by this chair. So when I sit down, I will immediately take a few deep breaths, right? Just like what you said. And then what I do is I will turn on YouTube, and I got a whole series of really uplifting videos that I will watch. And so I'll pick one, and they're usually between 3 and 5 minutes, and I watch that. So I'm sitting in this chair, I take a couple of deep breaths, and then I watch these videos. And if the computer's not booting up, I'll watch it on the phone, right? Like I make sure that once I'm calm, I get that yummy feeling going through me, all those yummy affirmations going through me. And then I ring a bell, and that means that I start. That's how my day starts.
Mm.
Like now I'm at work, right? I'm supported, I'm calm, I'm powerful, and I'm at work. Now that David is home, I ring that bell when I need silence because my husband is a really funny guy and he really wants to share everything with me. So he's like, oh, I read this joke, or oh, Monica, look at this one. But if I'm writing, I really need to not be disturbed. So I like ring that bell, which means not right now, sweetheart, give me an hour, like that, right? And so he's learning what that means too. But what's also interesting is now that I'm using that same bell for I need to focus so that he understands. Now, when I ring it, interestingly, I feel so much more focused. Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I
He's
mean?
probably going to be like, oh, I get quiet when I hear a bell now. Like he's when I hear the
Right.
bell.
That's
It's
right.
going to be, you're both going to be anchored for what,
That's
yeah,
right. That's
it's so
right.
true.
So yeah, so that's kind of what my ritual is when I sit down at my desk in the morning.
Is there a comment area for this episode anywhere? Like, is in your website, or I'm just wondering if there's a way that they could share some of their practices or rituals with each other too. Is there
Oh,
space for that, or?
I would be happy to post this extra in the Facebook page. So it's Blissful Real Estate Investor with Monica Sawyer is the group. So I will post this there. And yeah, ladies, come on and let's share each other's rituals to help us to reestablish bliss in our workspace and in our homes, you know? So it's on Facebook and it's Blissful Real Estate Investor, and it's a group with Monica Sawyer.
Beautiful. Yeah, I
You do
would
it
love to
there.
hear what your rituals are if you have them already, or if you have any anchors that really work for you. Because we all are different. Maybe we'll learn something from each other too.
Yeah. Oh, I
Yeah,
love that. Thank you so much for that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yay. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to say before we sign off?
Um, let's see. What do I want to say? I think just a reminder that a great anchor anywhere you are is that bliss and love and peace and calm, whatever it is you need, is truly a breath away. And you can use your breath um, to increase your energy or to decrease your energy. So if you're noticing that you're breathing more on an inhalation than your exhalation, that's longer, most likely you're feeling a little more anxiety, a little more energy, you're more up. So you can balance out your inhalation, your exhalation. If you're noticing you're exhaling longer than your inhalation, most likely you're kind of dragging a little bit, maybe feeling a little more tired and slow. So you can balance those to balance that out. And one of the things that's really great is to notice how you're breathing in your body. Are you breathing more in your front body where you're not really as connected, or are you breathing kind of concentrically in your front, your back body, and then out to the sides like a circle? So just maybe having some awareness right now of if you're breathing, how you're breathing, are you breathing? Like one of the things we do collectively, it's the one thing we all do on the planet together every moment of every day, is we breathe together. And so if you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling alone during this time of quarantine, you can always breathe. Know that you're connected through our breath. And if you're feeling disconnected from yourself, or you're needing more resourcefulness or energy, you can absolutely do that with your breath as well. So again, anything you need is a breath away.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And Devi, thank you so much for what you've shared on this portion of the show too. It's just been amazing. I love that conversation.
Me too. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, and I can't wait for it to continue. So yeah, just everybody go to the group. It's Blissful Real Estate Investor with Monica Sawyer on Facebook. And let's open up that conversation so we can support each other. That'll be amazing. Ladies, thank you so much for taking this extra step towards your bliss. Always remember, you do have control over your success. I'll see you next time. Bye. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to download my favorite investing strategy, just go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.